architects who hand-cut each giant sandstone block, buildings that are today as sound as they were 150 years ago. Parliament House, set amidst glorious parklands overlooking Hobart's busy waterfront. Many administrative buildings and private homes are preserved in tribute to the fine architects and builders of early Tasmania. Tasmanians are acutely aware of their indebtedness to the pioneers who set the stage for a prosperous 20th century community. In contrast are the new buildings continually changing the Hobart skyline. Economic prosperity is evident everywhere as Commonwealth and state governments and private enterprise, showing their faith in the future of the state, spend millions of pounds on new office blocks, shopping centres and libraries. Everywhere one looks, one sees advancement, progress, in a word, prosperity. This is a capital that's really on the ball, with everything pointing to an even brighter future. Visitors to Hobart remark on the cleanliness of its waterfront, the openness, the complete absence of slums. Annual cargoes total in excess of 1.5 million tons. Up-to-date equipment keeps things really moving, and because the city's business centre is so close, transport of goods to warehouses is but a minor consideration. In the last 10 years, factory output has risen from 59 to 138 million pounds. The electrolytic zinc company's huge plant at Risdon has an annual production value of 15 million pounds, employs 3,500 workers and pays out about 5 million pounds annually in wages. Behind Tasmania's industry is the Hydroelectric Commission's huge power projects, representing well over 100 million pounds of capital investment. Industry consumes about 2/3 of Tasmania's power output, at present rated at 617,050 kilowatts. By 1968, the installed capacity will reach 1.25 million horsepower. About 98% of Tasmanian homes are connected to hydroelectric power, and 3/4 of them have electric stoves and hot water systems. Industry has brought about the growth of large country towns. In the Derwent Valley near Hobart, New Norfolk is a thriving community with large shopping centres, its own newspaper, up-to-date hotels and motels. 85% of Australia's total hop production comes from this area. 325 of New Norfolk's homes were built for the employees of Australian newsprint mills at Boyer. A&M supplies about 30% of Australian newsprint requirements. It was the first mill in the world to make newsprint from hardwood timber. Expansion has been rapid since its opening in 1940. Annual output now up to a record 90,000 tons, produced from 65 million super feet of log timber. The huge rolls of newsprint are loaded from the factory's own wharf onto barges for transport to Hobart. The journey down the winding River Derwent, passing by acre upon acre of hop fields, takes about 4 hours. Yet another important industry to Tasmania is Cadbury's chocolate factory at Claremont, which provides employment for 1,100 workers and has a yearly capital expenditure of some £500,000. The Cadbury estate covers 246 acres and includes some 80 homes built for the employees. Swallow Hayward's biscuit factory is one of the most modern in the world. Its new 70,000 oven producing up to £2.5 million weight of biscuits a year using Tasmanian flour exclusively. Tasmania's railway system links north, south, east and west of the island with Tasmanian-built diesels travelling 1.5 million miles yearly, carrying 2.25 million passengers and 1.25 million tons of freight. First-class hotels, motels, service apartments, caravan parks and camping grounds attract 180,000 tourists each year to Tasmania. Most hotel and motel units are equipped with TV sets, and many have their own radios and refrigerators.
Hey now, you better listen to me, every one of you. We've got a lot of work to do. Forget about your women and that water can. Today, oh for the man. Well, pick up your feet, we've got a deadline to meet. I'm gonna see you make it on time. Oh, don't relax, I want elbows and backs. I wanna see everybody from behind. 'Cause you're working for the man.
You know, there were some great songs in the early 60s, and got a few of them here on the old jukebox. Gosh, it's been a long time since I've been able to have a... Well, I won't sing any of the songs because we want this to be a family-type program. We don't want to ruin it for you. You know, back in the early 60s, getting a job was as easy as pie. Everyone had a job. No, unemployment was minimal. Inflation, Paul Keating would have loved it. Do you know, between you and me, 0.6%? Not bad. Tasmanians were out doing, building, digging, doing all sorts of exciting things, working this beautiful island to be able to provide tremendous income for everyone. But of course you had to work very hard to make a quid in those days. I don't think the basic wage was so exciting. That's what it was called then, back then, the basic wage. And it was pretty basic too. Okay, let's have a look at Tasmanians at work. Tasmania, famous for the apples, the apple isle. Everyone worked in Tasmania. They grew the apples. They did lots of other things. They were exported to every state in the Commonwealth and to overseas. What a wonderful bumper harvest crop came in year after year. And speaking of crops, families, whole families, off they went to have a wonderful time with the hops, the hop fields of New Norfolk. And that was the time when whole families would gather together and say, OK, let's have our annual holiday, go up to New Norfolk, pick a few hops, make a few bob, have a nice time in the sunshine, and the whole family got together. That was a lovely time, wasn't it? Can you remember doing that? Just out there in the fields, taking your time, having a good time, pulling down those big strong vines to take the hops off, knowing that it was going to end up being a pretty good brew. Sitting out, just having a picnic. Then down to the west coast, all the mines, the hydroelectricity. An exciting time for Tasmania, a time of great development, a time when everyone seemed to have a job because they were all needed. Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul. The town of Rosebery and the mines. If you see me, all worked with hydroelectricity. A lot of men didn't, a lot of men died. One fist of iron, the other of steel. And off to Meadowbank we go. Then the left one will you load 16 ton. What do you get? The scars on the earth. People working, building. Building for a better tomorrow. So we've inherited that today. Gee, it was hard work for these blokes. Pretty hot work too, by the look of it. This is the new Norfolk Bridge. Have a look at it. It's a pretty interesting story. There's no passing on the bridge, so he had to back up. Thank heavens he did. Otherwise, it could have been a major and a minor disaster. This is the new bridge. Not as much fun, I suppose, as backing up on the old one, but a lot easier, take my word for it. And so, the new housing subdivisions were opened with much pomp and circumstance by Electric Eric, the premier of the time, but we found an Australian flag to place over this plaque to declare officially open Risdon Vale, developed by the Housing Department, and weren't they proud of it. Of course, there always had to be speeches, and and ceremonial plantings of trees. And building kept going on. This is the extension to the museum. There are those in the community who say perhaps it could have been better. But it's what you see inside, I suppose, that counts in a museum. But it was a time of building. Everything was going up, reaching for the sky.
What's the use of a night watchman's service when in fact we have a police force who perhaps should be doing these things?
Well, in actual fact, the watchmen do many things which are not within the province of a police force. You'd be surprised at the number of factories that have got a cooling room or a drying room or a heating room, automatic machinery which operates during the night. And part of the duties of a watchman, of a properly trained watchman, are to check and inspect these aspects in factories.
How many watchmen have you on your staff?
Throughout the various states, there are over 1,000 men.
And how do you pick these men?
We do a security background checking. One of the things that we do look for in any watchman is that he's got a stake in the country. From the viewpoint, we prefer married men.
This is a budget in which the big man has once again escaped, and the little man has copped the lot. The increases in sales tax, telephone charges, and excise duties are all designed to slug the little people. At the same time, those struggling to survive on pensions and repatriation benefits have received miserable increases, insulting increases, despite the £1 rise in the basic wage recently granted to meet cost of living rises which have taken place in the past 3 years.
Here we are at the birth of the tinny, the first beer cans in Tasmania. That brings back a lot of memories. And notice how automated it all became. Oh, very clever we were in those days. We thought up machines that took the jobs of men. It was a very labour-intensive job, and so they had to come up with a machine that could load the cartons. Still, it took a bloke to put the carton on the machine, so I suppose that was still something. The good old tinny. How many barbecues have suffered since? Thank you very much. Tasmanians were never people to hide their light under a bushel. They went off to Melbourne and they took a little basket of apples, not a sign anywhere to say they were from Tasmania, and then sort of talked people into trying an apple. Would you take an apple from this lady? They were very lucky because they received a little brochure that said, come to the apple aisle. And some kids, well, they really got stuck into it. Weren't they a trusting lot? She could have been the Wicked Witch of the North. But no, she wasn't. They accepted the apples. She gave them all away. Except one lady, well, will I? Oh, all right, then I'll take it. That brought a smile to her face. Tasmania was being promoted all over Australia. They went from Melbourne and then up to Sydney. They even had big buses with great banners on it. And wait for this. This is a very special treat. It tells you exactly where you are, the holiday island with the world's most even climate.
Tasmania naturally cannot expect these big jets to arrive here, but they will come to Melbourne and the people will spill over and go into the neighbouring areas. And we must be ready with our hotels, our tourist facilities. Everything must be of a very good standard so that we can get the utmost out of this boom.
Money was important, and even on Leave It to Beaver, they taught them how to save a few pennies.
You got home early today, didn't you?
Yeah, things were a little slow, so I took a powder.
Well, that means he ducked out, Beeve. What's in the package?
Your father picked that up for you on the way home. Oh, boy, I bet it's extra track for my electric train. What is it?
Oh, boys, it's a piggy bank.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is, all right.
Your father thought you could start saving your dimes and quarters in it.
Oh, I thought it was about time you started learning about thrift. Now, you feed this pig every day, and you'll be surprised how fat he grows.
Look, I have a quarter. Now, I'll start you off.
All right, here's $50. Well, what about you, boy?
Well, I guess I got a couple of dimes here.
Well, I guess I got 5 cents. But I was going to give it to Larry Mundell for a horse tooth. He found it in the street.
Well, come on, Beef. Everybody else put something in.
Now, you see? You've got $1 in there already.
Sure, you keep that up, and before you know it, you'll have a small fortune.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Dad.
Sure.
Supper will be ready in a little while, boys. Wally, I got a great idea.
What's that?
Let's break the pig open and spend $1.
No, Beef. Let's keep putting money in for a couple of months, and then we'll break it open.
Okay. I can hardly wait till it's a couple of months from now.
It's all very well to earn the money, but then you've got to pay your income tax.
Chicago, May 5th, 1932. After 7 months of legal delays, Al Capone, the most notorious product of the nation's experiment with prohibition, was on his way to federal prison to serve 11 years for income tax evasion. To watch the mobster leave was Elliot Ness, chief of the unique federal squad known as the Untouchables, the special unit that had worked for 18 months to bring Al Capone to justice. For these men, the end of the Capone career was just the beginning of another era of violence. The king of the hoodlums had left a vacant throne behind him. The next man to claim it would pay for the privilege in bullets and bloodshed.
Good old Al. Remind me to write him every day.
You don't have time.
Who's next in line?
Mr. Benny?
Yes?
Mr. Benny, we're from the Department of Internal Revenue.
I'll get it, Sheriff.
Jimmy, why do you always take the pen along? They may not even want your autograph.
Yeah? Mr. Jimmy Stewart?
That's right.
Mr. Stewart, we're from the Office of the Collector of Internal Revenue.
Well, gentlemen, come right in. Make yourself comfortable.
Thank you.
Mr. Stewart, we wanted to ask you...
Asked the girl what she wanted to be. She said, baby, can't you see? I want to be famous, a star of the screen. But you can do something in between. Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star. Baby, you can drive my car. And baby, I love you. I told that girl that my prospects were
What do you think of this? The FC Holden, and in it, someone very special. Kate Stevens. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Great. You always kiss the barrel girl.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, well, you did in the 60s. Oh, I can't wait to get up to do the barrel. All right.
That's wonderful.
All right, that's pretty exciting, though, isn't it?
It is, it's great.
How about we turn it all around? Because there's some fabulous prizes here. We're going to draw 5 of the computer prizes now. And then a little later on, the second prize is $3,000 worth of groceries, or $100 for 30 weeks.
That was good.
Yeah, we're working some out. And then, of course, the major prize is that beautiful trip.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. You can draw the 5 prizes for the 5 computers. Dun, 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 dun. The first one is Mrs. Morby. Mrs. Morby, who lives at Conningham. All right. Here we've got Mrs. Morby out. And Mrs. or it could be Mr. Devereux. Mr. Devereux of Moona. Is that right, Moona?
That's right.
Okay. There.
009.
Yep. And Mrs. E.M. Conway of Moona. Moona's been very lucky. That's 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th.
One.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Katie. And the winner is Mrs. N. Morrison of Newtown in Tasmania, of course. So there you go. And there's the last, lucky last. And this is Mr. B. Jarvis of Roadside Molesworth. Yes, Molesworth.
That's lovely up there.
Is it beautiful?
Really lovely.
So he's got a lovely property. So there are the 5 who've won the computers, which are jolly good. And, of course, we'll put these back in the barrel in just a moment, and then they'll be in for the major draw, too, and the second prize and all sorts of things. So I think, yeah, if you win that, you'd be well done,
You'd be
wouldn't
set, wouldn't you?
Okay. Now, we've got something very special to show you.
What's that?
The way we used to move. Not dancing or... No.
Like that?
No, in transport. This is the way we used to move. Do you remember the floating bridge? And the span that went up whenever a ship came, and you had to wait for what seemed an eternity waiting for the ship to go through? Those were the days. But now with the Tasman Bridge, of course, no motor vehicles are allowed to be on the bridge while a vessel is passing underneath. You see, we were a gentle time then, and I suppose we took things as they came. But it was a magnificent piece of work, the old floating bridge, and a magnificent piece of memory for us to have a look at tonight, because it takes us back to that time when it was a little more easygoing, wasn't it? And no one was really rushing about to get hither and yon. But today, in the way the world is going, then you need to get from point A to point B very quickly. This was the floating bridge, and this is the memory that we have when they were starting to build the Tasman Bridge, bringing the gantries in and moving them into place. The little tugs working hard, getting them all around. Magnificent workmanship.
When we walked in the sands of Waikiki and I held you oh so tight.
In many ways, Mother Nature has been benevolent to Tasmania, but when she's put out, she can be a proper harridan. And this storm really very nearly destroyed the floating bridge. While the other one was being built, if we hadn't have had it, there was no way to get from one shore to the other. The city would have been definitely cut in halves as the barges bashed and hit during the storm tempest as it came through. It was a trying time for lots and lots of people. It was going to be the time that they would say farewell to the floating bridge. And of course, there had to be that last symbolic cutting of the cord, as it were, as they were taken away for the last time, taken out to sea, to be floated away and then sunk from sight, never to be seen again. It's nice to see it, isn't it? It brings back lots of memories.
And how would you think then if we put perhaps a limit on cars during these long weekends, a limit for speed?
Well, now, even that's been thought of. They've done that in England. I don't know whether they did it this Easter, but last Easter they had an upper speed limit of 50 miles per hour on vehicles. It was suggested here, but it wasn't brought in. But it could have quite an effect.
Seatbelts were introduced into motor vehicles in Tasmania. They were just the lap type, and weren't they primitive? Could you imagine just strapping your baby in like that? But of course, as primitive as they were, they did save lives, and so everyone buckled up for safety. And speaking of safety, safety rails had to be tested the hard way.
Superintendent agreed when a breathalyzer test came to be incorporated in the laws of the state.
March the 15th.
Can you tell us a little bit about the machine?
Well, the only thing it will register, of course, is the alcoholic contents in the blood. And this is a scheme that's will be available on from the 15th of March that will indicate the quantity of alcohol concentration in a person's blood.
Are people going to be compelled to take the test?
Well, they may refuse. They will be told to take the test, but they may refuse, and there's a substantial penalty for not complying with the police officer's direction.
What is going to be the maximum blood alcohol content that's going to be permissible?
0.08% at the moment, but what will be a margin between that and what we will consider an offence will be decided by the department within the next few days, possibly 0.10 or something of that nature.
Quick quiz. What is this man doing? Yep, you guessed it. He's working out the lines on the road. This was a breakthrough in technology. Switch it on, and away we go. The lights are flashing, and for the first time, spray plastic was on the road, marking those wonderful lines. And that was the way it was going to be. What a wonderful breakthrough. Great for the motorist if you didn't happen to be driving behind him, because, wow, that's what happened. You got a nice white mist all over your car. And it missed a few as they went up the other side. But what happened to the artisan? The man who really worked out in minute detail exactly where that line was going. Often he got run over by this. You recognised him. He was the bloke with the big white line up his shirt. But that was the job that went by the wayside. I wonder where he is today. What price progress? Traffic lights. Augusta Road, Lena Valley. Saw them. They were the first ones outside the metropolitan area. But there were more to come. Lots of other places decided that they needed them as well. And where did they happen? The Tower Road, Newtown. There were the next set of lights. To walk, not to walk. But there was a time that we had to pay the price, didn't we, of not getting run over. So the lights made it easy. Red, amber and green, out in the suburbs. Who'd have thought that it had ever happened in Hobart? But happen it did. Just wait for the change. And changes did come aplenty. This is Rosny Hill. Do you remember when it looked like this? Do you remember when they built the overpass to the school? Of course, schools were mushrooming all over Tasmania. It was the era of the baby boom. And kids, like this bloke, had to go to school, and they had to be safe. And what better way to get them to cross the road than to have their own overpass? And there's look at that. Look on the hillside there. Gosh, go and have a look at it tomorrow and see what it used to look like. And as they moved it in, everyone seemed to have a job in those days, didn't they? It was labour intensive, and they certainly knew how to do it. And do it they did. Swinging the last span of it in with the steps. Get her there, right, George? Okay, move her over there. Ah, another era going. The tram lines. Why they ever got rid of the trams, I'll never know. A good, clean, efficient way of moving people, getting the passengers to and from. Didn't have to have the police around as much. Hey, have a look at the car. And then, of course, we had the policeman on point duty. It was marvellous to have that friendly man telling you, yep, you can go round there. And, of course, all this hard work that went on. People seemed to work very, very hard in those days. And they were constructing things, building for a better today, I suppose, if you look at it like that. And that's the excitement of it. This is the railway roundabout. And it was going to be the gateway to the airport, and the new motel was being built for all the tourists who were going to come to Tasmania and enjoy it. And enjoy it they have in their thousands. And didn't it look magnificent? There it is. Hollyman Avenue at the airport had to be opened. And if you're having an opening, you've got to have an audience. And the audience had to be seated in beautiful Art Deco chairs. So they came to have a deco at the opening. But the funny part about it was they had to find a flag to lift off the plaque. And what did they use? They used an Air Force flag, of course. Or was it civil aviation in those days? Very civil. Except we had no aviation. There wasn't a plane to be seen at the airport. But that's the way we did it in those days. At least we sat comfortably and enjoyed ourselves.
Captain Gibbs, one of the problems seems to be on these aircraft on the short haul from Melbourne to Hobart, which took only 50 minutes, the serving of meals. How do you see this problem? Well, I must say it's given us a great deal of headaches. We have tried, you saw this new mobile trolley that we have introduced to try and help speed it up. The girls really need to be issued with roller skates. We've tried all the shortcuts we can to try and get beverage and meal service in a short period, and I suppose it will finally reach a stage where it just won't be able to be done.
We were an inventive lot way back then. We had our aeroplanes, but we wanted them to go quicker and faster. So what did they try to do so they could have a bigger payload? They put rockets on them. It was rocket assisted. What a shame the fellas have lost their hats. Oh no, they came back. So there we are, we're having a look at that. We'll put the rocket on and see if it'll work. Anyway, it's worth a try. Chocks away. Just give it a go, Reg. Out goes the plane. TAA. Remember when? Watch the rocket. We're away. Beam me up, Scotty hadn't been thought of. Though it did have one or two drawbacks. It went something like this. Yuck. But then, of course, there were other guys trying for things. The scene, the MCG. The biggest send-up that's ever happened there. With his backpack up, he went, what a mark, it's a screamer. Wouldn't they love that at Richmond? Down he comes, back to earth. A job he can have on his own. Gosh, we enjoyed simple pleasures. And we believed everyone.
Important item was
The Minister for Transport came home and told us about hovercraft.
As you know, we're going to build them here, we hope to. And of course there are no regulations for them and nothing to control them running across roads or across beaches. And that has to be looked at fairly closely in the future.
So join the party with purity and rock back the clock.
They seek him here, they seek him there. His clothes are loud, but never square. It will make or break him, so he's got to buy the best, 'cause he's a dedicated follower of fashion. And when he does his little rounds round the boutiques of London town, eagerly pursuing all the latest fads and trends, 'cause he's a dedicated follower of fashion. Oh, yes, he is.
Well, folks, it's an exciting moment of the night because we're going to draw the second prize right now. Isn't that exciting? And I know you've been watching, seeing the prizes being drawn. And John Cogan, of course, is with us from John Cogan Travel. Hi, John.
Hi, Brian.
And, of course, we have Michael Kent with us from he's the General Manager of Purity Supermarkets. Michael, this is an exciting time.
Absolutely, Brian, yes.
And this barrel is chock-a-block full.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll do the second prize, Kate. What do you think?
Okay, Brian.
All right, we'll give it a... You ready for this?
Okay.
Barrel girls are making a big comeback in the 50s. One more time.
Okay.
You blokes did well. There's hundreds and hundreds of entries. All right, do you know what the second prize is? Go on.
$3,000 worth
Of groceries. Or you can have it, $100 for 30 weeks. That's a good prize. Dig deep, dig deep. Don't look. Oh, there you go. Dig deep.
Oh.
Right. That's it. Oh, come back.
Have you got a hoist?
No. Unhand that woman. You never know. Right.
Okay.
Here we go.
Oh,
You're going to read the others. Oh, no.
Other specials for the week, anyway.
Oh, but they were good specials. What were they? Oh, that's good.
Has made natural set yogurt.
Oh, beaut.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
H.
Yeah. Mass.
7.
And we better not say that, but we'll say Blackman's Bay in Tasmania. So H. Mass is delighted to receive your $3,000 worth, Michael.
Right.
Isn't
Well
that? Yeah, fantastic. Well, we'll pop that one back in because we're going to have the big special prize draw. So here we go. We'll turn it all around again. The major prize. Now, John, you can tell us what the major prize is.
Well, the major prize is a fantastic trip to Sydney first to join the cruise ship Federacea for big South Pacific cruise. And now comes the big thing. Ship comes back to Sydney down to Port Arthur and into Hobart. It's very rare to get a cruise ship into Hobart where you can get off. And you can also get on a cruise from Hobart on this ship.
Magnificent. Righto, Michael. Good. Let's see you do it. Okay. Well, we don't want to lose you either in this one. Now, this for the first prize, I think.
Here we are, Brian.
Okay. Read it out. There we go.
Master O'Bean, Unit 2, 4 Charland Avenue, New Norfolk.
Oh, fantastic. What a great prize. And if you've got no one to go with you, Uncle Brian's available. Oh, there you go. What a great prize. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Kate. And the next time we have a draw, I want to be in it myself. Well, Katie, do you like daylight saving?
Oh, I love it, Brian. It's the best thing.
Well, back nearly 30 years ago when they were talking about it, not a lot of people were keen on it, you know. They had to be told that you will get that extra hour of sunshine, and they did lots of big things. Then they discovered, well, like you and I, we found that extra hour to go and do some nice things, garden, go to the apple orchard where you can, and all those sort of beaut things. Well, they did that too, and they went into the swimming pool. I'll tell you about that in a few moments. But also, there was the time when westerns were pretty big on the telly, and I've got some clips here of old shows, and I've asked people to guess who they are. I'll tell you that one of them is Clint Eastwood, and he looks about 13.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we don't age terribly well, do we?
No, you've done well, Brian.
Oh, good on you. Oh, what a truthful girl, a very nice girl. All right, so join us now as we go back and have a little look of how we enjoyed ourselves, all the beaut things that we used to do. Then we'll have a little look at some of the television programs. And in it, there's one of, I'll tell you who it is, Lee Marvin. Have a look and see if you can find him. And he looks about, I think he was only 21 when he did it.
Really?
Boy, he's got old lately. Okay, so that's the sort of thing we did. This is how we entertained ourselves.
The Legislative Council will be debating the bill tonight, and I would think that they would finish the debate tonight, and we will know tonight whether daylight saving will be law this summer or not in Tasmania.
Daylight saving gave us a whole extra hour to play with. And play we did at the Clarence Pool. They were building it then, and it was pretty cool work if you could get the job. You know it now, of course, with the inflatable dome. But this is how it looked during the time of construction. And every little detail was looked into. Even the tiles were placed by hand. And who could ever forget the magnificent America's Cup Challenges, led by that beautiful vessel owned by the late Sir Frank Packer, the Greatle. Even Popeye loved it. And if you ever wanted to go out and have a bit of a wager, where did you go in those days? You went to the betting shop. And did you dress up? You sure did.
Well, the completion date that we've set our contractors is the 20th of December, just prior to Christmas.
And do you think they're going to make it?
They must make it, yes. We feel that we'll make this particular target date because we want to be open in time, of course, for Christmas.
Now, tell us a little bit about this drive-in. It's going to be rather a large one. How many cars is it going to hold?
Well, the final total hasn't been settled upon yet, but it'll be between 300 and 400 cars.
Look, Mr. Hardy, if you were out looking for us, there must be a reason. What is it?
Someone blew up the Wells Fargo office a little while ago and took $25,000 in cash. Your father said Tom did it, Ruby.
Tom? Did you? I'm your husband, Ruby, not your father.
Clear out! The way they teach you to say thanks where you come from, Sonny? Thanks. Now go on, get moving. Somebody ought to teach you a lesson, huh?
You better watch him, Rowdy. He's spookier than the horses.
Yeah, well, the spanking will change that. Watch it out.
Hands behind your back, both of them. Sit on that chair.
What is this? You guys really cops?
Are you saying I didn't treat you fair? Well, officer, it just seemed to me that you could have given me a warning instead of a ticket. After all, that sign's only been there a few minutes. Well, if it was up to me, I would have. But the law is the law. I don't make it, I only enforce it.
Well, he's not accepting your ticket. He's giving it right back to you. Aren't you, Mitchell? Gosh, oh, here, I'll give it back. Let me.
Jeepers, Dad, you're not supposed to tear up a ticket. I'll pick it up.
Never mind, Dennis. Just leave it there. All right, officer, what are you going to do about that?
Well, first, I'm going to give Mr. Mitchell another ticket for walking on the grass. Then I'm going to give him a second ticket for destroying the first one. That's interfering with an officer in the performance of his duty, you know.
That's right, Inspector. I see this same girl go in building where this man killed yesterday. My conscience tells me to do the right thing.
That's most helpful, Chongpin. Thank you. We appreciate people coming forward with information.
Appreciation, very important, but doesn't put food in mouths of many children.
Oh, yeah, stop by Inspector Grover's desk on the way out. He'll have something for you.
And now for newspapers, Mr. Evans.
What are you talking about, Chongpin?
You hear a good story, you always pay too.
Now, wait a minute. I just happen to be standing here.
Mr. Evans, you penalize me for being honest?
You honest? Now, come on.
Normal times, I tell Inspector Noose. He pays me. I go find you, tell you same news. You pay me. Today, poor man with many children suffer because you two in same room here news together.
I get it. Your logic is irrefutable. Here.
May all your sons grow up to be editors.
Heaven forbid.
Thank you, Chongpin.
Whole family bless you, Mr. Evans.
Okay.
I told you.
How big a family has he?
Family? Only people that old bachelor supports are the owners of the Mahjong parlors.
Through the mirror of my mind, time after time, I see reflections of you and me. Reflections of the way life used to be. Reflections of the love you took from me. Oh, I'm all alone now. No love to shield me. Trapped in a world that's a distorted reality. Happiness you took from me and left me alone.
Righto, Kate, into the old FC. There you are, the Holden. Pretty posh car in its day, you know.
Beaut, I reckon.
Yeah, pretty good. What did you think of all those years ago?
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you remember any of that?
No, not
Why?
a word. I was too little.
It'll break your heart when they say things like that, but it was good to see what it was like,
It
wasn't
was really interesting.
Yep. Do you know the thing that got to me most, I think, was about the fire, how Tasmanians came together and really worked hard to help each other, and then the rest of Australia pitched in and did the
Well, it
same
was
thing?
great, wasn't it? I was 2 then.
Ah, see, I knew you'd remember that. All right, I hope you've had as much fun looking back over those 30 years with us as we've had presenting it to you. Doesn't it bring back some Butte memories and the miniskirt and all those funny things, and every man in the world seemed to wear a hat. But our producer, who's a brilliant sort of a bloke, came up with a theory why most men wore hats and coats in those days, because not too many people had the FC Holden, so they had to walk a lot, and so they had to keep warm. So that's the way it goes. I hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you again when we look back another 30 years. I'd be a very old chap then, you realise that, don't you? All right? Because that's the way we were. Pretty good too, weren't we? We were. I thought so.
What's your feeling on this proposed legislation to close shops within a radius of 7 miles of Hobart on Saturday mornings?
I'm definitely against it. As a matter of fact, I've already registered a protest in the Mercury attributing the pressures to big business and other interests that have got no really interest in the suburban areas, but it's a great facility for the husband and wife to do a bit of shopping on Saturday morning. I mean, it's the only opportunity they get out together.
Now, what's your feeling on the proposed closing of shops here in Bellerive on Saturday morning?
It places the people a lot, who the shopkeepers themselves, I suppose. It helps a lot of people.
Does it help you to have the shops open on Saturday morning?
Oh, I think it does.
Why
You
is that?
can come in, you can get your groceries, you've got your son home or your husband, and they can bring the car with you.
That's right, they can't do this during the week.
No, they cannot.
Excuse me,
Do you like the word royal for our new unit of currency?
Well, I can only agree with the one somebody said in the paper. It might prevent it being in a republic. That's about all I can think of it.
Thank you very much.
No.
Why not?
I just think it sounds stupid. I think dollar would have been much better, or to have kept it as the pound.
Well, you don't like the new decimal currency, then?
No, I don't like the names they've got for it. And I don't think I'd ever understand it anyway, Brian.
You'll be well coached on that. Thanks so much. Excuse me, about royal, do you like the name for royal?
Personally, I don't like it much.
What would your son have it called?
Oh, I would rather have the dollars.
The dollars?
Yeah.
You think it'll be easier for everybody?
Yeah, because everything is royal today, royal opera, royal that, royal that.
Do you think it'll cause a lot of confusion when we come into it?
Well, I think it does.
Well, in my opinion, any person who takes a life, he should not be allowed to retain his own. Where I come from in England, they hang 'em. If it's a murder, they hang 'em. It's a kind of commit murder here and get placed on a bond. That is only my own opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now at 7:30 in the morning, just half an hour from 8 o'clock, the scene is quite orderly. The crowds are beginning to swell again, but even so, there would only be about 900 to 1,000 demonstrators, the rest of the number made up by police, about 200 of them, and pressmen.
Well, to my mind, I haven't thought much about it, frankly, but capital punishment should still be enforced in Australia.
You really feel that?
I do, yeah.
3 minutes to 8, and the scene here outside Pentridge is still very much the same. Perhaps just a few more demonstrators have helped to swell the ranks. Police, still in large numbers, are guarding the entrance very well to protect against any violence that may occur in just 2 minutes from now.
Oh, well, I would be more lenient. I think probably I would be a little bit soft. I don't believe in hanging at all, no. I don't think two wrongs make a right at any time.
They will suffer very much, particularly if the importation is completely banned. There'll be no means of them obtaining a starting pistol or a pop pistol, which is essential to their work.
Howdy. Stage leaving on time?
Yeah, after supper. It gets dark. The desert's a little bit cooler.
You got a stranger in town. Who is he? Oh, I sell guns. Carrying a money bag. Man carrying money can usually use one of these.
Oh, yeah, I remember you. Well, that's Jim Hardy. He's the Wells Fargo man. I'd say he's a pretty good prospect. He's been with Wells Fargo a long time. He's probably wore out 2 or 3 of them things. Say, that's a beaut. What is it?
45. Hardy, you got a minute? I kind of like to... What's the idea? I just want to sell you a gun. Look at it. It's not loaded. I'm sorry. However, when a gun's pointed at me, I've got no way of knowing whether it's loaded or not. I just sell them. Selling them's one thing. Handling them's another. Oh, I can handle it if I have to. But if you point it at me again, you may have to, sir.
Well, fundamentally, I think that the granting of equal pay is a Commonwealth matter. It was the government of Australia that was present at the United Nations Assembly when the Declaration of Human Rights was signed. And, of course, one of the provisions in that is that everyone, without any discrimination, shall have the right to equal pay for equal work. Do you think too many women are working these days?
Yes, I think so. I think the trend is for too many women are getting into too many men's jobs.
Why do you think this is bad?
Well, I think with automation coming along, there's, the man will have to be a specialist and the field is going to be cut down.
Well, why shouldn't he become a specialist?
Well, I think he should, but I mean, it's going to, if the women are going to encroach on it, it's going to make it less and less.
This matter of pay, do you think if a woman is capable of doing a specialist job as the man is capable, should she be paid as much?
Yes, I think so.
Now, the attitude to married women was founded in the Depression, when it was generally thought, well, we mustn't have married women employed, well, when there are so many unemployed persons. And full employment meant the full employment of a breadwinner. So there was a law that said that married women could not be permanently employed in the public service.
Well, the attitude of the government is that there have been many married women who've given wonderful service to the government of the state who, as the law stands at the moment, are employed in a temporary capacity. These people will be entitled to apply for permanency. They will be entitled, if they wish, to go on the superannuation fund, or if they don't wish to go on the superannuation fund, they can still have the right to be permanently employed. It will be necessary to alter this bill because it doesn't cover some of the contingencies, such as, for instance, the question of childbirth, leave for childbirth for married women. But for the 725 women who are now employed by the government, this will be quite a major breakthrough.
National service was introduced into Australia, and Tasmania's sons went away to do their bit. They were not old enough to vote. They weren't old enough to go and have a drink. But they were old enough to fight for their nation. And later on, of course, a number of these young men went on to serve gallantly and valiantly in the jungles of Vietnam. And their families said fond farewells to them. For many of these young blokes, they'd never been away from home before. As a matter of fact, not too many of them would have ever been on an aeroplane. And this is the way they left the Apple Isle, to go and do their bit in national service. Who will ever forget the devastating bushfire that swept through Tasmania at this time? It started out well enough in the morning. You remember? It was very hot, very sunny. 100 degrees on the old scale. It had topped the ton. And then just after lunchtime, the fires started. The first smoke came into Hobart. People then realised that something terrible was amiss. It was a day of total devastation. Not just Hobart, but right down to the southeastern portion of Tasmania. Men fought for their property. Just to contain the blaze would have been enough. Volatile fuels had to be looked after. Possessions dragged hurriedly from homes. It was a time to worry and to wonder if they would live through this terrible devastation. The flames licked and leaped at everything. And what do you save? You save the bike. It's amazing, isn't it, the things that people go after in times of worry. And the flames just didn't care. They had their way, their wicked way, with everything in their path. Houses were lost. Great tracts of bushland devastated, blackened, flattened. And then came the horrible time, the realisation later, after the flames had gone through, to find out just what had been lost. What could never, ever be replaced. And isn't it always true? It's the treasures that you lose that you can't replace. Things like photographs, memories that you've had, keepsakes, all gone into the insatiable flames as they ate their way through.
I'll tell about the night we met and how my heart can't forget the way you smiled at me. I want the world to know the story of my life. The moment when your lips met mine, and that first exciting time I held.
The clean-up time had to come. How much was it going to cost? Did people have time to count the cost at that time? They were just lucky to be alive. The army came in to help. Malcolm Fraser was the Minister for the Army at the time. They did a great job.
I've got to take you for my wife. So the story of my
children's toys, bedding, the family car. And then came the time to repair it all. Men and women of Tasmania worked throughout days and nights. The insurance assessors, the linesmen, all had a job to do. Communications had to be re-established right throughout the whole of Hobart. And they did it. They worked together. And it was reassuring to know that Australians could still do that. What did they find in the fire? A few pennies. The children from all over Australia sent toys and clothes for the kids of Tasmania. We came together as a nation, we came together as a state, we helped each other, and we knew that the future was going to be great.
I hope you enjoyed tonight's Step Back in Time. The memories it brought back for me are something very special, and I'm sure you will agree that it has given us a fascinating glimpse of our past in a most interesting and innovative way. As a company born in this very era, Purity Supermarkets are proud to have been involved in the production of this entertaining program, and I know you'll be joining me in praising the efforts of the people involved in the creation of Rock Back the Clock. Let's hope the next 30 years are as exciting and fruitful for all of us. Thank you and good night.
So join the party with purity and rock back the clock. Now the time has come for us to celebrate, 'cause Purity is rocking back to 58.
That's right, it's Purity's 30th birthday, and you're invited to join in the celebrations as we rock back the clock to 1958.
So grab yourself a partner and come on in to the biggest birthday party you have ever seen. Rock, rock, rock back the clock. Rock, rock, rock back the clock. Everyone is having fun. Rock, rock, rock back the clock. Join the party with Purity and rock back the clock.
There's never been so much excitement and so many prizes to be won as we celebrate 30 years of cheaper supermarket prices. So grab yourself a partner, come on into Purity, and let's party!
So join the party with